Well, here we are, and you can see the fog. At the on the right-hand side is the South Pier, and on the north side, the North Pier. There's the light flashing. It flashes once, I think, every 10 seconds. And you might be able to hear the foghorn going. There it goes. It's quite faint. It doesn't seem to be flat. There it goes. There we are. Right, as I pan round this way, this is the known as the Spanish Battery. There's the bike. I'm out on the bike again this morning. So as we walk around here, lots of fairly new seats dedicated to loved ones who've now departed. In the background there, from left to right, we have the castle. Then within the grounds of the castle, the ancient monument there is the Tyne Priory, and you can just see the mast from the relatively new building, new meaning 20-30 years old or so, was the Coast Guard station. It was built, but then wasn't occupied for very long and then closed down, so the Coast Guard is now at the Humber estuary, about, what would it be, 80-90 miles to the south of us. As we pan round further, there's the steep hill that I come up and down on the bike, and as we go round to here we see the watch house, the Life Brigade station, with Lord Collingwood sitting proudly on his monument about 50 yards behind the Life Brigade watch house. We have more seating. I often use some of those as well. And there we have the entrance reach, if you like, the harbour to the river with the Narrows in the background. But you can see how foggy it is. The Black Middens are just peeping out above the river water there. And we look round full circle and to South Shields. South Shields Pier, and the horizon is definitely not visible. That's a closer view of the headland there with the castle, the priory and the old Coast Guard station. Here we're closer. Collingwood looks as if he's standing on the roof of these are private houses. Well, I'm up near the new highlight with the old 18th century highlight behind me. I wanted to make a little bit of do a little bit of commentary on the two ferries. I'm having to do this from memory, so forgive me if I err a bit. The ferries across the river have been known since about 1377, and the only route left across the river now is from North Shields to South Shields. We have a seagull visiting as well now. The only route is the North Shields to South Shields route. That is run by Nexus, who are the passenger transport executive for Tyne and Weir. There are two vessels. The Pride of the Tyne, she was built in 1993 at Swan Hunters Shipbuilding Limited on the Tyne, and the Spirit of the Tyne, which the hull was built in Harlingen in the Netherlands. I nearly forgot where that was, and she was towed over to Portsmouth to be fitted out in 2007. So she's been running now since 2007. The ferries make about 25,000 trips per year and carry approximately 400,000 passengers. Both of the ferries have Voith-Schneider screws, one at each end, so are highly manoeuvrable on the river. I think that's all I really need to say at this stage, because the next part of this video is going to be a trip across the river on the Spirit of the Tyne. I'm just going to change cameras so that's if I can remember how to change cameras on this one. Just change cameras so that you get a picture, a bit of a video of the new highlight from 1808. That's the new highlight from 1808, and that one there, the white building there, is the old highlight from 1727, I think. And there we have the new highlight with the old light, the very old light on the left, the large building, which I'm about to put some photographs onto this video. The large building on the left is the old low light from the 18th century. And this is from where I'm sitting, looking upriver as DFDS Seaways Princess Seaways comes into the river to berth just beyond the vessel which is on her starboard side now and is, I don't know what that's called, I'd have to look it up, but it's moored at Northumbrian Quay, and the Spirit of the Tyne is heading across the river towards South Shields. Well, here we are on board Spirit of the Tyne, and looking out beyond her stern we see lots of apartment blocks which have been built over the last 20 years or so, some of them newer than that. As we zoom in we can see the high light on the left and the low light. The ferry operates a half-hour service on the hour and half-hour from North Shields, where we've just departed, and on the quarter hours from South Shields. Many of the new apartment blocks just in view there were original smokehouses used in the herring trade. As we zoom in, we can see two jackets which will be sitting on a barge waiting to depart from Whitehill Point. They are jackets for a wind farm in Scotland. The weather vane there is called Tyne New, and that's at the entrance to the marina. We now zoom into part of the port of Tyne, where we have a bulk carrier and various silos at the port of Tyne. As a boy in the 1950s, I frequently went across the river on the old steam ferries with my father. The steam ferries were replaced by a diesel vessel called Frida Cunningham in 1972. The North Shields ferry landing was built in 2004 to provide better access and shelter for the passengers. At the time of filming, there are plans to build a new North Shields landing at the Fish Quay. We now see the entrance to Royal Quays Marina and its lock. The port lateral mark is indicating the turn to starboard in the river. South Shields Landing was built in July 1999 and replaced a century-old landing. It is an interesting cantilevered design. The circular louvered building just going off to the left is a new library, and that building is a BT call centre. The building in the background is an old customs house, and I think I'll do a video on that in due course. After berthing, the ferry will have approximately an 8-minute turnaround and then be the 7:45 AM back to North Shields. I was out early for all this videoing this day. It was a gloriously sunny day, unlike the first clip, which was filmed a little bit later, where it was extremely foggy. Both ferries are moored at South Shields, and we can see the Pride of the Tyne. Having cycled about a mile downriver from the South Shields ferry landing, I'm now quite near to Herd Groyne, and at this location we can see the old pilot jetty, which is definitely out of bounds. Looking across the river, we again have the various locations on that side. There's the notice telling us to keep well away from this jetty. We now look across at Groyne number 1 and then the lifeboat station. Tynemouth Lifeboat Society established a station in 1790. The Society remained independent of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, RNLI, but the RNLI had its own station at Tynemouth by 1862. The latest lifeboat is a 7-class vessel named Spirit of Northumberland. There is also an inshore lifeboat at Cullercoats, about 1 mile to the north. Both vessels are regularly seen training. The volunteers of Tynemouth Volunteer Life Brigade, their headquarters seen earlier, are very active today and specialise in rescues from the shore. The south side of the river gives excellent views across to the high and low lights and the old high light. The old low light is a very substantial building, and I've included more photographs taken from within Clifford's Fort at the end of this video. The large grey building was an ice factory which had its own chute. The crest on the building in the background is of a stag, indicating that the building was owned by a very famous shipping company called the Stag Line of North Shields. Plenty of fish stirred up by the fishing vessels. The seagulls always follow them in. Panning round, we can see Herd Groyne and the substantial legs with the concrete bases for Herd Groyne Light. I was filming from the very end of the groyne. Herd Groyne Light marks the beginning of the 6-knot speed limit for the river. Herd Groyne Light was built by Newcastle Trinity House Board in 1882 during the building of the piers, which surprisingly took 41 years between 1854 and 1895. The light is 13 metres high with an occulting white section, 8 seconds on, 2 seconds off. It has different sectors and also an extra port entry light. The original fog bell has been replaced by a fog horn. The reflection of the light in the roof of the lantern house shows the 8 on, 2 off sequence. The DFDS ferry Princess Seaways approaches the Tyne after her overnight crossing from IJmuiden, the main port for Amsterdam. It took me a good few trips before I got a photograph of Lord Collingwood without either a seagull or a pigeon perched upon his head. Lord Collingwood, of Battle of Trafalgar fame, stands proudly watching out over the entrance of the Tyne. I hope the plaque mounted at the base of the column is readable, but you may have to pause the video. Princess Seaways and King Seaways are pilot exempt, or they were. I'm not too sure whether they still are, on the grounds that they regularly visit the river on a daily service between North Shields and IJmuiden. They recently returned to the river after a shutdown due to the coronavirus outbreak. She has quite a history. Built in Bremerhaven, Germany in 1986 as the Peter Pan, from 1993 or late 93 to 2002 she sailed from Melbourne to Tasmania as the Spirit of Tasmania. She was then laid up and offered for sale. When she was bought by Fjord Line, she then took over the Bergen to Newcastle route from Jupiter. She was called Fjord Norway then, and in 2006 she was bought by DFDS and renamed Princess of Norway. She continued to sail the Bergen to Newcastle route until 2007, when she started on the IJmuiden for Amsterdam to Newcastle route. In 2011 she was renamed Princess Seaways. The early morning sun, this was filmed just after 8 AM, produced some very fine reflections in the calm river. As she heads upstream, the next part of the video will show her berthing at Ro-Ro Terminal 3. The decorative mooring buoys in the background are a relic of bygone days. As the various seabirds get a free ride on the outgoing current, which is usually somewhere between 2 and 3 knots. Having spent a while checking through some of my video clips, I cycled back to the ferry landing in order to catch the 9:15 back to North Shields. This video showing the Princess berthing at Ro-Ro 3 was taken from the deck of Spirit of the Tyne. Well, I'm now sitting at home and I've changed my mind about lengthening this video because I think it's long enough. Most of the articles that I got information from were from Wikipedia, so I'd like to thank all the contributors to that website. Fairly soon I'll be putting a much shorter video on all the buildings and the surrounding wall battlements of Clifford's Fort. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If there is any discrepancy in the information that you think, please do say so in the comments, and I shall see whether I can correct those. Looking forward to seeing you again in the future, and thanks very much indeed for watching my channel.